Good morning, students, and welcome to MagDrive Day 1. I'm very excited to get the year started, and I hope you are as well. As a reminder to all students, today is our cash grab push day. So for every $100 that you're turning in today, you're going to get the chance to dip into that class level bag, potentially earn yourself $100, $50, $20, $10. All class levels will have the same opportunities and same chances to win. Your chances are great, so don't hold back today. Turn in all that money that you have. Let's make the first day a great one. To make sure that things get started off well, I just want to walk you through again some reminders for the drive in terms of things that you should be using to turn in your sales and what things to submit when you are doing so. Just as a kind of quick reminder on the MagDrive Essentials, remember you are required to do $120 in sales. Any checks that you want to do made out to the school, that is what you would use to submit your $120 quota if you are not planning on selling magazines or any gift items. As a reminder, our school goal is for each student to do $240. That's what our student activities budget is based upon, and that is what is going to help get us to our 2 holidays during President's Week. So for all students, please try real hard to make that $240 amount. Completely understand if you can't, that is not the requirement, but it is something we would like everybody to shoot for. Also, as a reminder, in terms of donations, we absolutely encourage you to ask your supporters for donations if they prefer not to purchase magazines or gift items from you. Once you reach that $120 quota, all donations in $60 increments double for your turn-in. So if you've already sold $120 worth of magazines and gifts and you bring in $60, that $60 actually counts towards $120 for your turn-in. If you bring in $120 on top of your $120 quota, that would double and count as $240, and so on and so on. I'll go through in just a second some of the math in relation to doubling, just to make sure today when you're doing that turn-in that we do the doubling right and you're not getting called into the reception room to speak with the counters. You do have 3 sales options, remember: physical magazine orders, online magazine orders, as well as online gift orders. Or you can simply just submit your check to Presentation High School. To walk through a couple of doubling examples, and just to make sure everybody's on the same page, remember that if you bring in a check for $120 and haven't brought in anything else, this is going to count as your quota and you don't double anything. So if you're planning on doing sales and you have a $120 check today, you may want to hold on to that $120 check, because if you do $120 worth of sales, that $120 check is going to double afterwards. If you have sold $60 worth of magazines and gifts, and then you bring in a check for $120, note that $120 doesn't double to $240. $60 from that $120 goes towards your quota, as you've only done $60 worth of magazines and gifts. So only $60 of the $120 check that you bring in, on top of the $60 that you sold in magazines, is going to double. So make sure, again, that you're thinking about this in terms of $60 increments after you reach that first $120 amount. To kind of go through some of the other examples that are here, if you had sold $90 worth of magazines and gifts and you bring in a check for $60, your total turn-in is only going to be $150. And the reason why is because you've done $90 in magazines and gifts, and this additional $60, in order to get to $120, 30 of that $60, so 90 plus 30, is your first $120. And then you only have $30 left after that. So the total would be $150. So again, make sure that if you're getting donations in, you're bringing it in $60 amounts after your first $120. To kind of show you how this works in a more complicated scenario, if you sold $110 worth of magazines and gifts, note that you are $10 shy from your $120 quota. But if you brought in a check for $120, again, you're not going to be able to double that entire $120 amount. The first $110 of magazine sales plus $10 from that $120 check is going to make your first quota. And then from that $120 check, you're only going to have $110 left, which means that only $60 of this $110 is going to double. And then once that $60 has doubled, you'll only have $50 remaining after that. So if you take the total scenario, you'd have $120 from your first quota, $60 that double at $120, and the remaining $50 for your turn-in. So for that remaining $50, you might consider holding on to that $50 and turning in $10 later, or adding $10 to it so that you can get to the full $60 and double the entire amount. Your total turn-in from this particular scenario is going to be $290. So ultimately, the moral of the story is if you're collecting donations, make sure to do it in $60 increments above your $120 quota. As a reminder, in terms of donations, as I said during the assembly, the donation items on the Believe Kids side do not count towards doubling amounts. This is because the company is taking a portion of that donation as a result of processing it for us. So it may be a great option for your supporters in terms of submitting credit card donations or things via this portal. But ultimately, because the company is taking money out, we can't double that for you. If the check is written to presentation, it is pure profit and all comes to us. And then to remind you in terms of your turn-in options, what should you be putting in the white envelopes today? There are really 4 different things, but in terms of sales, there are 3 different options. The first is the physical order forms. These would be using the order forms that came in your packet if you were doing in-person sales with people. Make sure that when you turn in that order form, it's not just the order form. You also need to make sure that you're turning in the money and the check that matches the total order from those order forms. And all checks should be made out to Presentation High School. That is your first option. Your second option is the receipt of sale. So anytime a supporter purchases from you or purchases on the website, they're going to get a receipt. If they don't use your online ID or your student code, then the only way that you're going to be able to show that they purchased is if they forward you that receipt. So if your supporters have forwarded you the receipt, you certainly can turn that in for credit, and using that receipt, that will definitely count. One thing to be weary of, though, is not to double count. So if your supporters are using your online ID and your student code, that order is going to show up in your order history. So you want to make sure that you're not printing out the receipt that they send you in addition to turning in your online sales report or your order history that has that purchase on it as well. That would be an example of double counting, and you're not going to get credit for the same sale twice. So if supporters purchase directly using your online ID and your student code, then I would suggest using the third option below. And that would be to turn in your online sales report or your order history page. This is simply very easily accessed by logging into your online account and printing your sales report or that order history page. As a reminder, don't double count on orders that you turn in that supporters have sent you receipts for. But in addition to that, don't double count on turn-in days 2, 3, and 4. If you submit an order today using your online sales report, and then you have new orders that come in for turn-ins day 2, 3, 4, etc., you want to be sure that when you submit those new orders that you cross off on that online form that you've printed out all those orders that you've already submitted. The counters are keeping track of the previous orders. So if you try to turn it in twice, they're going to call you in and tell you you can't do that. So if you can help us avoid that, that would be great. This is an example of a receipt that your supporters might receive once they make a purchase. So this is absolutely something that you can send and turn in. One thing to note about the Believe Kids orders is that some of them, if they are orders of $75 or less, have shipping and handling associated with them. Note on this $10 order, there was shipping and handling of $7.99. You want to make sure that when you are doing your turn-in, you are not counting the shipping and handling for that total order. Ultimately, that total order price is going to be the $10 amount. We are not making money as a school, and no contributions are coming to us from the cost of shipping and handling. So that's not something that should go to your order total. So make sure when you're looking at the Believe Kids, either your online order history as well as the receipts that are sent to you when you turn that in, that you are not counting the shipping and handling that's involved with that. And you can see in just a second as I scroll down, and I'll do so, that this part of the online order history, the form that you want to turn in or the page that you want to print out from the Believe Kids site, is going to show you that particular order. So the receipt that I showed you before is listed here. Note that the My Order History part shows the total order itself, and the total is showing as $17.99. This is not the part that you want to be counting when you're submitting that sheet from the Believe Kids site. The things you want to be counting are the ones that show up in the orders on behalf of my sellers. This is going to include a full list of all of the orders that people have purchased from you, and you'll note that the totals that are listed for each individual order on that list are not including the shipping and handling. So make sure that when you're totaling up the Believe Kids online order history and printing that out and turning it in, that you're not using the items that show up here in the order history, because that includes shipping and handling, and instead are using the orders listed in this section titled Orders on Behalf of My Sellers. Just to kind of give you a sense of what this looks like, we're going to log in together and take a look at where to print this out and what to do. So no worries, you've got plenty of time today, and you can definitely take that time in order to print these out if you haven't done it correctly. So on the Great American side, again, simply just go in and log into your account. So you can all watch me do this, but hopefully you have already done this properly. So when we enter the account, we approve and continue, and it brings us onto our online account. You want to go to this option right here, track your sales, and you want to go to this option here titled Current Online Sales Report and pull that up. So once we click on it, it should load. And ultimately, this is going to be the order history that we want. So note, there is no sales tax associated with any magazine orders, and this is what you'd be turning in. If we're on a later turn-in day and you have already submitted these two orders, you can simply cross these orders off and turn in those new ones. If we were to go to the Believe Kids side, again, you just want to log into your account. Login. And once you log into this particular site, again, you're going to notice what I described before. You're going to have the order history at the top. If you note in the items of the order history, there's this one order again that is listed as $17.99. Again, if you click on viewing that order, you're going to see there was shipping and handling that was charged for that particular order. So you want to make sure that when you're printing this page out, and this is the page that you print out, that you are only looking at those orders on behalf of my sellers, this bottom section here, and you are not looking at the top section. You can add up the total amounts from those orders on behalf of my sellers, and that's what you're going to be turning in. I hope that helps in terms of describing what you should be turning in today. I look forward to seeing how everybody's doing. Thank you once again for all of your help. As we move forward into each of these turn-in days, we're going to be focusing on the way in which your orders and the way in which your support and work helps promote our student activities and how you benefit from those activities. So I look forward to sharing that information with you, and thank you so much for supporting the drive.